But for me, I wanted to try to get the most ecologically valid. I wanted to get people in the setting like as comfortable as they could. And so with EEG, one of the advantages is you have a cap on your head. You don't have to lay backwards. So musicians are in there with their guitars. They're sitting like comfortably upright with a music stand in front of them with their changes. And they would come in, they would get capped, and they would like play for a while. And one of the most important parts of this study, I think, was that like literally for 10 minutes, they had chord changes, they had their brain activity on a screen in front of them, and they would start to play. And after a couple of minutes of playing, just getting comfortable, I would be like, okay, you see these brain waves? And I would start to have them do things. I would have them like clench their jaw. I would have them bob their head. I would have them do all the things they weren't supposed to do.
Right.
Like, and so there was this adjustment period of like just working with the musicians to try to get them into a place where you're like this, they understood, okay, this is like about the amount of motion that we would want.
So I think that was really a baseline.
We're setting a baseline, and the brainwaves weren't on the screen once we started recording the improvisation, but just getting them, setting a baseline, getting them comfortable, letting them play for a while. This is like a little like nerdy thing that like didn't even really make it into the methods of the paper. But when I think about the design of the paper, the important parts and the questions going into the study was just like, can we get musicians to improvise and collect EEG data that we think has high enough fidelity that we could like, do some cleaning and run all of our fancy analyses on it to understand what's kind of going on in the brain. So basically what we had was these 32 musicians had a wide range of expertise. They came in, they improvised to, I've used Band in a Box or actually iRealBook for this study. It's like it's a cool app where you can program any set of jazz changes with like an accompaniment. So there was guitarists came in, and then there was piano, bass, and drums accompaniment. They were all the same tempo. They were 144 beats per minute, like kind of like a medium swing kind of vibe. The chords were changing like on every chord. They were unfamiliar chord changes, which was a decision made for the bigger creativity realm of this study not to have this familiarity effect. But in some ways, if I designed this study from scratch, I think I would have like actually had pieces that were like jazz standards that people were the most familiar with, because I think we talked about set and setting earlier, like the setting or the piece. I'll tell you from my own experience, I'm sure like when you're comfortable with a piece and you have all these different iterations that your memory can reform those in different ways. It's different. It's different. And I think it's more what real jazz, like deep improv or improv in any domain comes from. It comes from this deep repertoire and vocabulary that's like pieced together.